In my last video, I explained how we can use emotions to fuel long-term changes in our lives. And in this video, I will reveal the secret to using willpower the right way so that using willpower always energizes you instead of exhausting you. Namaste and welcome to my channel. My name is Bhavna, and through this channel, I share my learnings from my transformation journey. I share various practical tools that I have used not only to heal myself, but also to create amazing opportunities for personal and professional growth. In today's video, I will explain how you can use willpower in an efficient manner. Because willpower can be used effectively only if you understand what it is, when you should use it, and who is really benefiting from you using your willpower. So, what is willpower? Simply put, willpower is determination or perseverance to keep moving forward towards a goal. Traditionally, willpower is used to gain momentum towards a goal so that we can improve our lives. But what most people forget to notice is that they are using all that willpower towards goals that aren't really making them happy or fulfilled. In fact, those goals might have been set for us by our parents, our conditioning, our patterns, or even the society that we live in. So when was the last time you stopped and asked yourself, why do you want to even achieve that particular goal? And even if you did you really try to get to the root of the why? In fact, goals in the traditional paradigm are all about what the mind wants, what the mind needs. And in most cases, our mind only needs to feel safe and secure. So our goals might be fulfilling that basic need only. But what we often fail to understand is that any goal that only satisfies the mind will not create an expansive experience for us. This is seen in many people who have corrective surgeries to feel better in their bodies. Actually, even after they get the surgery, they end up feeling the same way. Because the surgery might have helped them look beautiful on the outside, but inside, they still have that low self-worth. Similarly, achieving a goal will not make you happy or joyous for a very long time, unless the goal is aligned with becoming the best version of you, not an improved version of the existing you that is made up of your conditioning. That is why when you use willpower to achieve goals that aren't really aligned with your true nature, that use of willpower will end up exhausting you. I will give you a bunch of examples in this video, so here goes. Let's say that you have always fought for attention from the people in your life. You just don't feel complete within yourself. You need people to always validate your choices, your beliefs, and your existence. But when you run that pattern, you risk doing things only to make other people happy, not yourself. So to feel that level of belonging, you start to make choices that are not yours. You do that for a while to receive the attention that you crave so hard. But because you're giving up your own true desires in order to fulfill the needs of your conditioning, you start to feel depleted, and eventually you start to resent those same people. In this case, you have used willpower to do all the things for all the people without any real impact on how you feel within. You did all that you did for the wrong reasons. That is an example of not using willpower correctly. And that is exactly why using willpower incorrectly will lead to you feeling drained. When I was using willpower in my life, not in alignment to my true desires, I found myself in a health crisis. And most people don't know their way out of a crisis. In fact, they promote the same. That's why when we take medicines or medication, other side effects and other issues unrelated to our sickness happen to come up. So, what I did instead was use a tremendous amount of willpower to use that disease to my advantage by looking inward and figuring out why I had manifested an autoimmune disease at the age of 35 years. I asked myself some really tough questions. I looked at my environment and I saw where I was not feeling supported. And I took some really tough decisions to create a chance for a second life. And that's how we need to use willpower. Willpower to connect, in my case, to my self-healing ability by removing the designs and patterns, keeping me stuck in disease. I used my innate guidance to do that, and listening to my guidance and not my mind required a whole other level of willpower. I talk about surrender in my first video, and I did use this fantastic tool to shed my identity that was keeping me sick. I used surrender to drop the mind chatter and all the planning and all the goals and the lists and simply drop into the body and understand what my body was trying to tell me, to get into that self-awareness state. Because self-awareness is really surrender on steroids. When I use willpower this way, I tend to experience flow in my life, the flow state. In fact, the other day I started to receive guidance on something that I just needed to do for a friend, and my mind didn't like it. All these fears and all this resistance started to come up because what I should have done according to the guidance was uncomfortable. Again, because I'm able to distinguish between the messages of the mind and the messages of my being, I was able to overcome the resistance and ended up coming up with a beautiful collaboration idea with my friend. That is what happens when you're in the flow state. So when should we use willpower? Well, that's really easy actually. When you get clear guidance and knowingness from your being about something, some people call that intuition. When your mind starts to resist it, that's when you use willpower. Because timing is everything when it comes to willpower. And my greatest cue is when I feel shaky in my life, unstable. And frankly, that only happens when my mind is starting to create all sorts of stories about my reality. And I start to feel anxious. Those are the moments the need to surrender really arises. For example, if you notice some kind of chaos or unrest in your life, that's when you know you can use willpower to feel stable. Most people tend to simply react to everything, and that is why they're constantly stressed because they're disconnected from the knowingness that their body already holds. But if they simply listened to what the body needs, they will be able to then move on to the next step, which is to hold space for the chaos to completely show through and express itself. And of course, that requires immense amount of patience with oneself. Having that much patience for your own chaos to simply show without reacting to the story of the mind is truly the greatest act of self-love. So at this point, I'd like to share some more examples of the correct use of willpower. Because when you know how to use willpower, that will only benefit you and the people around you. So let's say that someone in your life gets bothered by something that you said. So something you expressed triggers their own sense of self and their need to protect their identity. And they end up using anger towards you because that makes them feel powerful. At this juncture, you can either recognize what is going on with that person and disengage yourself, or you can react like them. If you choose to do the latter, you will simply become part of their story and in fact make it even more difficult for them to become aware of their own patterns. But if you choose to remove yourself from that situation, you not only preserve your dignity, but your non-reactive state is actually the biggest act of kindness towards yourself and them. By choosing peace, you show them that it's possible to create a different reality. Here's the thing. That simple action requires huge surrender on your part. That level of willpower to simply surrender will determine the life that you have. Sometimes we need to use willpower to simply not react. And sometimes we need to use willpower to do the inner work or demolish the ego, like I like to say, that is keeping us stuck. And sometimes we need to use willpower to take an action that is extremely challenging for us, like leaving an abusive relationship. But in all these cases, your use of willpower is efficient because it creates deep transformative changes to your physical reality. And when your life designs are a higher vibration, your environment changes as well. People around you will start to adjust their behaviors as well. They might even choose to disengage with you as you do not sit at the same vibration as them. Let me explain the correct use of willpower using one more example. Let's say you want to lose some weight. You're carrying a bunch of unnecessary weight and it's really making your life uncomfortable. So you decide that you want to lose that last 10 to 20 pounds to look a certain way by the summer. And your goal is to wear that brand new bikini that's been sitting in your closet for a while. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that goal. In fact, I love it. So you start with a very strict fasting regime and you work out every other day and you do everything right. But eventually, just before summer, something devastating happens in your life and you binge eat for a month. In fact, you end up putting on that weight back again. That leads you to becoming hateful towards yourself. You look in the mirror and you don't like it. So you have a couple of choices here. You can either start your eating and workout regime again in the hopes of again wearing that bikini by the summer, or you can in fact take a few deep breaths and understand that voice of judgment and self-hate. Why did you need to hate on yourself for failing? Where else in your life do you hold yourself to a really, really high standard that you're not aligned for just yet? When you start to understand the underlying reasons for self-hate by watching my first 2 videos in this series, you will probably end up removing those patterns in your life, because those patterns are making you judge yourself very harshly. Maybe you will find out that very early on in your life, you had been punished for failing. And so now you do the same thing when you fail. You punish yourself. So once you understand that and you start working on your goal again, this time though, you might be gentle with yourself. When you do end up binge eating, you'll acknowledge the trauma and feel the emotions that come up and let go of the remaining memories of those past events. And then you can start all over again using renewed willpower and determination, this time using self-love instead of self-hate. That process of reflecting and becoming self-aware is what creates that stable foundation for you to create new and improved designs in your life. To understand how to use willpower is only one side of the coin. It's also important to understand who really benefits from you using willpower. Really, this topic is so close to my heart because I finally understand the real me. That if I'm not directly benefiting from the use of willpower, I'm simply not going to do it. That's it. If you truly understand that statement, you understand willpower. So either your mind is benefiting from the use of willpower or your whole complete being is. If your mind says that it's time to lose that last 20 pounds because that will help you feel more confident, well, I would question that because when I was at my most optimal weight, according to my fitness tracker, I got majorly sick. So, yeah, that's a false statement. Your weight doesn't determine the confidence that you feel. Your mind simply wants to adhere to a particular standard because doing that feels safe. The standard is not safe, but the compliance feels safe. But if your body's knowingness simply adjusts your diet and exercise routine because certain foods just don't resonate with you, and because of those organic changes, you start to lose weight, well, that will probably cause you to feel better in your body, which will then create more self confidence. But chances are you already felt self confident before losing the weight. It's just that you feel a greater level of confidence because you feel more comfortable. Can you spot the difference there? So, the first step is to understand how you are using your willpower today. Are you using it to boost your ego and become more solid in your identity? Or are you using willpower to shed your identity and understand who you truly are, your divine nature? On the one hand, when you use willpower to boost your ego, you only can access a limited number of solutions. But when you use willpower to enhance your connection to your divine nature, all of a sudden the container for the right solutions for your life expands. This enhances your container for self-love, for abundance, and for personal growth. To feel safe, the mind creates this ego or self-image. That ego is simply protecting you from feeling vulnerable. Because when you were wounded in the past, you did not have the tools to handle all the feelings. So getting wounded again seems very unsafe. But because you can handle it now, you do not have to put up walls around yourself anymore. You have the tools to handle yourself if you get hurt again. Remember, you chose to come here at this time not to suffer and struggle and live a fake life, but to find healing in your suffering and create a life that is beyond your wildest imagination. To live your best life, find your true nature because that is your only purpose. In fact, Rumi said that the wound is the place where the light enters you, and this is exactly what he meant. Your wound is an opportunity for you to heal. So, are you protecting your ego state or are you expanding into your true nature by becoming vulnerable once again and looking at those wounds and healing them once and for all? Maybe it's time you ask yourself who your willpower is benefiting after all said and done. This is where you want to use your self-awareness ability because self-awareness is a prerequisite for healing. The reason you need self-awareness is that you cannot just rely on other people to tell you what your blind spots are. You need to be able to recognize them yourself, even if you're all alone. What if you don't have a loving partner now to tell you when enough is enough, or a parent to guide you correctly? My awakening didn't start because someone told me that I'm wounded and I needed healing. In fact, it started because I had been watching myself and the people around me. I had been unknowingly observing how I felt around certain people. And when that wound was triggered again, very deeply, my higher self sent me a very clear sign of an exit. It told me to leave now or I won't be able to again. And that is how we use willpower, to take that guidance, adhere to it, and enhance your life. So at a minimum, you at least need to become self-aware. Know your environment, observe and be curious. Eventually, your life will make sense to you. I do all of this by going for walks, journaling, meditating, because connecting to nature makes me feel supported. Journaling helps me sort through the mind chatter. And meditating helps me focus on my breath because my breath is my connection to my creator. By connecting to your breath, you can start to feel that connection again. That's how you make a safe space for yourself to really observe your life. And that is the real meaning of willpower, the determination to improve your life by looking at yourself and what changes you can make. Thank you so much for being here with me. I would love to hear about what you took away from this video. So feel free to comment below and share your journey with the others that are watching as well. Thank you. Take care. Bye.